Friday is kind of a loose translation of, there's a story that I want to tell you that could be fun because you're learning, and learning should be fun, but also there is something to be taken from it in a historical context and how we can apply it to today. Now, over the last few weeks, we have done a really cool journey starting in the year 1900 and all the way through last week's episode when we landed in 1986. So this week, I thought it would be interesting to pick up similar to where we left off, but in the year 1989. So this story is going to take us all the way back to the year 1989. This is a very, very interesting story to me because I really didn't know anything about it. So I learned something in preparation for today's episode, and so I'm going to be learning this right along with you guys. In 1989, there was a lot of changes going on in our world, basically, okay? And so this Fun Fact Friday is going to be revolving around one of those changes that came forth in the latter part of 1989. So here we go. On August 23rd of 1989, there was something called the Baltic Way. What was going on was a protest and in essence, a fight for independence. Now, this is something that I'm very passionate about. I was born in the birthplace of the revolution. And independence should not be squandered. And we see a lot of that happening today in 2023. But some fights date back to long before we were ever even born for some of us, okay? And this is one of those stories. Now, if you were alive during this time in 1989 and you actually remember this happening, maybe you saw it on the news, or maybe you were someone who actually took part in this, I want to hear from you. Okay, the Baltic Way happened on August 23rd of 1989. Over 2 million people joined hands, creating a human chain across Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. This was a protest to end communism and a fight for independence for those 3 states. This is so amazing. Over 2 million people. Just think about that for a second. Over 2 million people came together peacefully to try and fight for the end of communism. That is so powerful. They spanned a space of over 675.5 kilometers, which in miles is over 419 miles, okay? This was a fight for independence. 2 million people joined hand in hand over a distance, for some perspective here. Over 2 million people throughout Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia joined hands to create a human chain of 2 million plus people that spanned over 419 miles. That is the distance from the capital of Boston to DC. So the Capitol building in Boston to DC is about the same distance that these people, like, do you understand the power, the passion, and the belief that took for over 2 million people to join together peacefully to fight for their independence and to end a communist regime? Puts a lot of stuff for today into perspective, doesn't it? I mean, over 2 million people. Latvia in 1989 had a population of 2.6 million. Lithuania had a 3.6 million in 1989. And the population for Estonia was 1.56 million. Okay? If you add all of that up, that is more than the entire population of Massachusetts, which is the 15th most populated state in the United States, in the continental US. And these people joined hand in hand in love against hate and against communism that spanned a majority of the eastern coast of the United States, okay? That's a big chunk. That is a huge distance, okay? August 23rd, 1989. There is so much that can be learned from the fact that if you do not know history, then you are doomed to repeat it. A lot of people think that they are so intelligent today, and they don't realize that they're making a lot of the same mistakes that people fought against way back when. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're so entitled. You know, we don't, as a modern society in the Western world, we don't know what it's like to always have, you know, war at your door. We don't know what it's like to wonder if there's going to be sugar to make a cake. We don't know what it's like to do without, because we live in an instant gratification society. And that's where this week's motivation comes to play, okay? What would you, it's so easy to be like, oh, I would do this, I would do that. But until war and until opposition comes to your door, you really don't know what it is that you would truly do. Would you get up and fight? Would you stand up for what's right? Would you do the right thing, regardless of whether or not it was trending or popular or easy? You don't know what you would do until you are truly tested. And in our modern society, in an instant gratification society with everything at our fingertips, groceries, clothes, hookups, everything, all in a swipe, all in a pay right on our phones. That's the modern world. And yet we're making some of the same mistakes that people fought for us to have independence, for us to have the potential to work outside of our homes, to go and fight for the jobs that we want, to go to college, to have the newest car, the newest iPhone, the newest this, that, and the other. People sacrificed a lot for us to be in the society that we're in today. And what are we doing with that? What are we doing with the oppositions that they fought against so that we all can have freedoms in modern society? What are we doing with this? Are we living with purpose? What are we learning, and what are we passing down to the next generations? Because those people in Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, they were fighting for a reason. They came together in love to combat hate and opposition and equality of distribution, okay? They fought to end communism and the Soviet regime of those 3 states, the Baltic way. What are we doing today that is honoring all kinds of sacrifices and all kinds of hard-fought wins that we get to benefit from today? What are we learning? What are we doing? Are you living with purpose? Are you honoring those sacrifices and those hard-fought wins that other people, put themselves on the line to do? Grandmas were lining up with these 2 million plus people. And yet we live in one of the most wealthiest societies that's also one of the most depressed. Why are we so depressed? What are our problems really as big as they seem? Or are we just making them out to seem bigger than they are because we don't know what it's like to be without? We don't know what it's like to have war at our door or to be held down. We don't know what that's like. But if we did, and if that was the case, which it very well could be, well, what do you think you would do? Would you do what was right? Would you stand up for what was right? How do you know? How do you know? Are you learning from history, or are you one of the ones that's doomed to repeat it? That's a really good question. People can say it's all about how people are raised, right? People can say that. But you can have 2 children raised in the same house, under the same values, under the same roof. But like the saying says, one can be a crackhead and the other can be a preacher. It's the decisions you choose to make. It's like we always talk about. First you make your habits, and then your habits make you. So are we learning from history, or are we all doomed to repeat it? What choices are we making that we're even allowed to make today for the sacrifices that other people made so we could have those choices, so we could have those options to live our best lives? If you are in the US, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not everyone in the world has those kinds of opportunities. So are you squandering them? Or are you learning from history and learning that the one thing that cannot be enslaved is your mind? And that doing the right thing is always the right thing to do, regardless of if it's popular or trending, okay? A lot of times the things that are most worth it in life are not easy, but they're worth it. What are you doing that is going to help change your tomorrows for the better? For you, for your family, for your house, for your neighborhood, for this society? Those are some good questions, aren't they? Until next week, everybody. Talk soon.